Welcome to Pathways by Path. I'm Evan Rhodes. This is a show about the decisions, challenges, and journeys shaping competitive tennis. Last week, Lena Kirsch, a sports dietitian who works with competitive junior athletes, told me the real problem isn't bad nutrition, it's invisible nutrition. Families doing everything right, with no idea how big the gap is between what their kid needs and what they're actually getting. If you haven't heard that one, go back. This week is different. My guest spent 8 months away from the sport he'd built his whole identity around, recovering from a stress fracture and figuring out who he was without a racket in his hand. Marco Rivera, thanks for being here.
Thanks for having me, Evan.
You said something before we hit record, that the injury wasn't the hard part. What did you mean?
The injury was 8 weeks of healing. The hard part was the other 7 months. Figuring out who I was when I couldn't answer how was practice anymore.
7 months without an answer to that question.
Right. For 10 years, basically every conversation with my parents ran through tennis. Take that away, and there's just silence where the conversation used to be.
What filled the silence?
At first, nothing good. I'd watch matches against guys I used to be ranked near and feel sick. My coach kept texting me drills I physically couldn't do yet. My parents didn't know whether to bring up tennis or avoid it completely.
Nobody knew the right move.
Nobody. My coach was managing one version of my comeback. My physio had a totally different timeline. My parents were just trying to keep me from quitting on schoolwork out of frustration. None of them were talking to each other.
So 3 different recovery plans running at the same time.
3 people who all genuinely cared about me, each building their own version of the plan, and I was the only one who saw all 3. At 15, that's a lot to carry when you're also depressed about not playing.
That's the first time I've heard depressed on this show.
It's the right word, though. Nobody calls it that in tennis. You're just frustrated or taking time. But losing the thing that's been your whole identity since you were 7, that's grief. I didn't have the language for it either at the time.
When did that change?
Around month 5, my coach finally sat down with my parents and my physio, all in the same room, not 3 separate calls. First time anyone asked what I actually wanted, instead of just managing the comeback for me.
What did you want?
I wanted someone to tell me I was still a tennis player, even though I couldn't play. Everyone was so focused on the physical timeline that nobody addressed the part where I genuinely didn't know who I was without the sport.
Still a tennis player even though you couldn't play. Say more about that.
Ranking, results, matches. That's performance. I think identity is something underneath that. It took losing all the performance stuff for me to even see the difference.
I want to push on something. A lot of players would say the real story is the physical comeback, the grind back to form. You're saying that's not actually the hardest part.
The physical comeback is just work. Hard work, but it's linear. You do the reps, you get stronger, there's a chart for it. The identity part has no chart. Nobody hands you a plan for who are you when the thing you built yourself around is gone. I had to make that up as I went, mostly alone.
And the triangle, coach, player, family, where was it in all this?
Completely scattered for 5 months. The moment it came together, everything moved faster. Not because the injury healed quicker, because I wasn't the only one holding the full picture anymore.
That's the line right there.
It's true. The day my recovery actually changed wasn't a physical milestone. It was the day 2 adults who cared about me finally compared notes.
2 adults who cared about me finally compared notes. I'm going to be thinking about that one.
Wish someone had set that meeting up in week 2 instead of month 5.
Marco, thank you for this. Genuinely.
Thanks for letting me say the parts people usually skip.
Marco said something I haven't been able to shake. The day his recovery actually changed wasn't a physical milestone. It was the day the people around him stopped working from 3 separate plans and started working from 1. That's the triangle again. Coach, player, family, scattered when no one's looking, moving faster the moment they're not. The cost of that gap isn't always visible on a scoreboard. Sometimes it's a 15-year-old carrying 3 versions of his own recovery, alone. Closing that gap is exactly the space path tennis exists to fill. Next week, I'm sitting down with Dr. Maya Chen, a sports psychologist who works with youth athletes on identity outside of performance, the exact question Marco was reaching for around month 5 from someone who studies it for a living. It picks up right where this one leaves off. I'm Evan Rhodes. This is Pathways by Path.